But at the same time, marriage has had some important constants across the centuries of these trees' lives. First, and most importantly, the word has endured. The economic partnerships of backcountry farmers, the spiritual unions of true believers, the nuclear families that formed the bedrock of the Cold War nation state, and the love affairs of liberated men and women all had one thing in common. They all went by the name of marriage. Even though we have meant very different things when using the word at different times, the continuity of language reveals a continuity of value. We have always valued marriage, whatever that means for us in that time and place. And as Rebecca and Kevin stand here before us today, they are entering into a commitment that is very different from that of their ancestors. But it is a timely, valuable, and true commitment nonetheless, one that goes by the name of marriage, just like all that came before. The continuity of the word marriage points to another important constant that cuts across time. Marriages are always a public institution. What is important about these diverse relationships that have been called marriage is that they exist not only in the eyes of the two people involved, but also in the eyes of their community. When two people privately declare their affection for and commitment to each other, we don't call it marriage. It's only marriage when they declare their relationship publicly and receive the love, admiration, and support of their community for its sustenance. In this sense, a marriage has always meant a commitment not only between the members of the couple, but also between the couple as a unit and all the other people in their lives. At its deepest level, then, that is why marriage always starts with a wedding. It is a ceremony that not only declares the couple's commitment to each other, but declares their joint commitment to the community, and their community's commitment to them, and to their lasting strength, love, and happiness. And that, of course, is why we're gathered here today. Rebecca and Kevin are making a commitment to each other, but they're also making a commitment to us, and just as importantly, we are making a commitment to them. They promise to love and sustain each other, and we promise to love and sustain them together. The community gathered here today is a patchwork of the many communities that Rebecca and Kevin have formed for themselves over the course of their lives. But we are all here with a single intent, to love and support them as they enter into this new epoch of their relationship. This community of intent is made up of Rebecca's parents, Elizabeth and Tom, Kevin's parents, Ziggy and Fred, their siblings Kate, Adam, and Chris, and their partners. It also includes aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces and nephews, godparents, and godchildren. This community is completed by friends from kindergarten, high school, college, the music community, the dance community, co-workers and former co-workers, neighbors, and friends. We've gathered from opposite corners of the globe, from Germany in the east and Hawaii in the west, with people from Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Vermont, Montana, and California in between. What a blessing it is that we're all here today. Now, to symbolize these multiple communities forged into one, and to symbolize our single intent here today, I ask you all to pass the flowers that you received as you arrived at the ceremony today down towards the front. Rebecca's sister Kate and Kevin's brother Chris will come across the front and will collect them from the people sitting in the front and bring them to the bride and groom. In this way, the single flowers held by each individual here today will be gathered into ever larger groups until they come to form complete bouquets that we will present to the happy couple. In just the same way, we have come together as a diverse community of individuals in the single purpose of loving and supporting Rebecca and Kevin on the occasion of their wedding and in their life as a married couple. As you pass your flowers down, I invite you to take a silent moment to reflect on the community that Rebecca and Kevin have gathered here today and the multiple and enduring commitments that are being made underneath these ancient trees. Enough of the history lecture now. Let me change my hats from the professor of the dusty past to the loving friend to both Rebecca and Kevin. For as much as they are both participating in and reinventing tradition for themselves, they are also two unique and wonderful people who stand before us here today at this hour. Rebecca grew up in Suffield, Connecticut, where she was an active kid. She danced a lot and trained in gymnastics and acrobatics. After high school, she attended SUNY Purchase, spent time performing and choreographing in Montana, and lived in LA and New York. She toured with Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus and worked on the Holland America cruise lines. In New York, she worked with many companies and choreographers. She created her own work, which was presented in New York and around the country, taught at the Professional Performing Arts High School, and even made it to the big screen. Kevin's parents moved to the U.S. from Germany in 1975, and in quick succession had Kevin and his brother, and moved here to Pound Ridge. He grew up in these hills, camping, biking, and playing outside. When he wasn't playing the trumpet, he had his nose in a book. At Swarthmore College, he continued to read, play outside, and play music all the time in a variety of bands, from blues to hip-hop, salsa to jazz. Afterwards, he made his way to New York, where he worked as a paralegal and German to English translator at a law firm. In 2005, these two lucky souls met each other on Match.com. Rebecca describes the moment like this. I winked at him because I liked the way he looked. He loved beats, had two adorable-looking cats, and most importantly, when describing himself in the limited space provided, one of the things he chose to say was that he had truly great friends that he loved. I couldn't help but think that that was such a great way to describe oneself in a dating profile. Come to find out, it was all true. Kevin more simply describes it this way. I'm incredibly lucky to have met and held on to Reba. Since they met, much is new in their lives for both of them. Rebecca has been performing less, devoting her energy instead to teaching and practicing yoga and to training for half marathons. Kevin has left the law firm and is now a full-time student working toward his master's degree in library science, which he plans to put to use as an audio archivist, helping to preserve recorded sound heritage. On June 7th, 2008, a little more than a year ago today, they decided to get married. One thing we all know to be true of both Rebecca and Kevin is that they are great artists. Rebecca has been a dancer and choreographer since she was a small girl, and her dedication to creating and performing beautiful movement has taken her far and wide and won her many friends and admirers.